to the Sunday Night Health Show podcast. In this hour, we're going to be talking about, just how much meat do you eat and how healthy is that for you? Also going to be talking about long COVID very shortly with Dr. Tomi Mitchell. And get ready and prepared for my health quiz coming up at 9:30. I had the loveliest email from William, who won the September prize, and he was very happy and is going to take his family out for dinner. Anyway, also going to be talking about how the world is failing women in so many ways. But right now, you've heard her voice before, and she's going to join me on the line because we're going to be talking about, at your request, and thanks so much for your emails and text messages. I really appreciate any suggestions that you want to learn about. And so somebody texted in who was experiencing long COVID, and I've actually seen a number of patients recently who have been experiencing long COVID. I had a 40-year-old patient recently who has had it for about a year and a half and has had to do a full career change, has now just gotten relief from some of the breathlessness, although I could see that he was still breathless, but he has to take 2 to 4 hours worth of naps in the day. The causes of long COVID are not yet fully understood, and the research is ongoing, but it's believed that a combination of factors, including viral persistence and overactive immune response and possible damage to organs and tissues during the acute infection, contribute to these persistent symptoms. But there might be something else that researchers are onto. And joining me on the line right now to talk about that is none other than Dr. Tomi Mitchell, who is a medical doctor, family physician, is also a productivity coach. Her website is wellnessstrategies.com. And yes, that's with 3 S's. Good evening, Dr. Mitchell. How are you?
Good evening, Maureen. I'm well. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad you're well. Because a lot of people out there aren't. And it's at one point there were about a third of people were experiencing long COVID symptoms. And what are some of those long COVID symptoms?
Yeah, so this brain fog, shortness of breath, difficulty speaking. Some people had neurological symptoms, almost like stroke-like symptoms, like problems with walking, communicating. There are others who were completely debilitated, like a wide range. Mood disorders, we saw people with new worsening anxiety, depression-like symptoms, again with that brain fog. Those are just one of the few long COVID symptoms we've seen over the past
They
year.
also can experience like skin rashes and sleep disturbances, insomnia, which is already a big problem for people. Heart palpitations, other cardiovascular symptoms have also been reported. It's really debilitating. I mean, to have a chronic headache, which is also reported by some long COVID sufferers, or loss of smell or taste, they continue to have that. Oftentimes people lose their sense of taste or smell for 2 or 3 weeks, but sometimes people have it for 6 months to a year. And it is not good. It is not fun. It's given rise to clinics in the different provinces across the country to deal with these symptoms of long COVID. Like, how often, though, do you think that people's symptoms are dismissed or people don't believe that long COVID exists?
I think that happens often because, frankly, we've kind of been in this COVID lull where people have kind of been like, la, 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 the pandemic is over. That's been the general mentality. I'm not saying you and I. So people really haven't been connecting the dots because they've been told COVID is over, but COVID isn't over. The impacts of COVID still remain to be fully understood as this virus continues to evolve.
Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people, oftentimes it's a diagnosis of exclusion. So it's not this, it's not that, it's not this. Maybe it's long COVID. I've heard patients who have gone to a number of different doctors who have been dismissed, basically, by their doctors. Is COVID real? I mean, long COVID. Is long COVID real? Well, I should say, is COVID real? A lot of people don't believe that either.
This is totally. It's denial. Yeah. COVID is very real, and long COVID is very real.
And what would you say to somebody out there who's experiencing, and if you're experiencing symptoms of long COVID, I'd love to hear from you, 1-877-399-9898, or if you know somebody who's experiencing the symptoms, give us a call or text. The number to call or text is 1-877-399-9898. That's 1-877-399-9898. Maybe you're just experiencing since a COVID infection, fatigue, shortness of breath, brain fog, chest pain, muscle pain, joint pain, headaches, cardiovascular issues, heart palpitations, digestive problems, mental health symptoms increasing, skin rashes. Give us a call. The number to call, 1-877-399-9898, or text. What would you say to somebody out there who is experiencing, quite honestly, I've had a few messages from listeners about please do a segment on long COVID. And I suspect that it's because a lot of people don't feel like they're believed, or they feel like there's something wrong with them in their head, as opposed to, the problem sequela from an infection. It doesn't have to have been a serious symptomatic infection. What would you say to people out there suffering with this?
First, empathy. I'm really sorry that you're going through it, because the symptoms are so diverse. It's multiple organ involvement, multiple system involvement, and the severity can vary. I would say really persist in finding someone who will believe you and listen, and take the time to really address the symptoms that you're having, because this is still a relatively new illness we're dealing with, and hopefully get connected to one of the long COVID clinics across the country. I know access varies significantly, and some clinics maybe focus more on the respiratory concerns than some of the other ones. But again, this is why having a really strong healthcare team behind you is crucial.
Mm-hmm. There have been some recent studies that have pointed to long COVID biomarkers, and it's how important is this in terms of coming up with new treatments?
Yes, there definitely have been a lot of research right now with the biomarkers, and I'm optimistic, and I know with persistence and more funding, we'll learn more about this. But hey, if we could learn, like talking about serotonin, for example, something that we've known, we studied it as far as depression and also interference, which are important proteins in our body that kind of say intruder alert when there's a threat, specifically a viral threat. This might be a really good tool to help us understand what's going on with the patient's immune system and their response, and why they're struggling with clearing this, why they're still struggling with long COVID months, if not years, after the initial infection.
Mm-hmm. These recent research studies, they've found that the chemical messenger serotonin has been depleted, and that may lead to cognitive impacts like memory loss or that brain fog that has been described by so many people.
So many people. That brain fog is real. Yeah, and that's quite interesting, because we do have some, existing research on serotonin, especially its impact with like mental health, specifically depression. But yeah, the serotonin connection is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing we hear often, the gut-brain connection in terms of mental health, and I thought it was very interesting that according to this research out of the University of Pennsylvania that was published on Monday in the journal Cell, found that there were virus fragments lingering in the guts of people with long COVID, even though they weren't no longer testing positive for the virus. And that was enough to trigger the release of interferons, which is sort of at the carry-on of what they're feeling, sets off that chain reaction that leads to inflammation, that makes it difficult for the gastrointestinal system to absorb tryptophan and that amino acid that helps the body make serotonin. So there's such a connection here. Could the answer lie in diet?
Oh, I love that question, Maureen. I'm a big fan of diet. Food is medicine, and our gut is our second brain. There's even more neurons in our brain, in our gut than there are in our brain. So, again, this is a fascinating part of research. But 100%, our food is everything. I wish the world would understand how important food, nutrition is to overall health. And we could really fix so many of these problems or improve many problems, not just COVID, long COVID, with paying attention to our food and what we're eating, because a lot of it is toxic. There's so much garbage in our food. Food has changed than what it was in the 70s. I know that's another conversation entirely, but food is medicine, and it's so important.
It certainly is. And, it's not easy these days. There's so many processed foods. We're going to be talking about food in the next segment, specifically meat. There was another, I don't know if you're familiar with the other recent biomarker study out of Yale University. It was published in Nature, and they compared people with long COVID, those who were infected around the same time but had fully recovered, and those people who had never had COVID. Are you familiar with that study?
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. Yeah, they saw differences in their blood samples and the levels of cortisol, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We have a caller on the line. We have who have we got on the line? Hello.
Oh, Samantha.
Oh, hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm doing good if I didn't have long COVID.
Oh, do you have long COVID?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that. What are your symptoms that you're experiencing?
I have really bad brain fog. I sleep quite a bit. Days I'll get really dizzy. The big thing is the memory. It's affected my memory I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll forget the words. So it's very embarrassing.
And has it affected obviously it's affected your quality of life. Has it affected your employment or your family life, relationships?
You know what? It has affected my life. My life has changed because people that don't have long COVID don't realize what long COVID is. It's very scary. I'm actually off on a leave from work right now. I'm worried that I won't be able to go back. I'm a nurse.
Oh, dear.
And I don't know if I can go back.
It's with nursing.
Very scary.
Yeah. And have they offered you any treatments?
Yeah, physiotherapy. They said the only way really that you're going to get better is if you rest. Right?
Wow.
So I try, but it's hard. Nobody knows anything about this long COVID.
Right.
So they're just trying to rule out stuff.
Yes.
The same as my daughter has long COVID now.
Oh,
and
dear.
It's affected her heart. So we've got a 22-year-old with high blood pressure as well as a high pulse. They don't know how to treat it.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Right?
I'm sure. Are they treating it with?
Affect your life.
Yes, it does indeed. And how long ago did you have COVID?
I had COVID March 10th.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, they are doing research. They're coming up with some things. There may be a connection, with the gut and the brain. And I wish you good health, and I wish you speedy recovery for you and your daughter. And thank you so much for your call and sharing your story. You're welcome.
Thank you for the information.
My guest is Dr. Tomi Mitchell, family physician, also a productivity coach. Her website, wellnessstrategies.com. Thanks so much for staying on the line, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Maureen.
You're welcome. We have Peter calling in from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. We're talking about long COVID. Hey, Peter.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Not that great.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll cut right to the chase here. I've had COVID 4 times. I've had all my vaccinations. I haven't been able to take it. This hit so home with me. Thank you for dealing with this, because I've had doctors say to me in the hospital, there's no such thing as long COVID. Well, I haven't been able to smell or taste anything for 2 years. And 3 times I got COVID in the hospital. The ward's been shut down. I didn't go in there on account of this. I got it. because other people in the ward had it. And I was isolated because I'm MRSA, and I still got it. I'm sitting there, I'm not wandering around, and damn, it's really contagious because I'm stuck in a room by myself, and I still got it. And but I have had doctors say to me, you know, I asked them, I said, look, I can't taste anything. I haven't been able to, whatever. And now I got it again. And 3 times out of 4 times, I got it being in the hospital. So I'm really appreciative of you and your guests addressing this issue, because I feel like an idiot. I've got brain fog. I can't, I've got all the symptoms. I don't have headaches. Okay, I'm going to shut up about myself, but I'm really appreciative about you addressing this issue, because when, okay, I'm going to shut up, but thank you.
You're so welcome, and I hope you feel better, and we'll continue to address this problem, because I think a lot of people suffer, and especially when it's something where people are dismissed, it makes it that much harder. Peter, I wish you good health, and it must be awful not to be able to smell or taste your food. Dr. Mitchell, we have about 30 seconds left. What do you think of when doctors say long COVID doesn't exist?
It breaks my heart. As from, long COVID is real. I've had COVID and I've experienced brain fog in the past. Thank God it wasn't long term, but it is real. So there's a lot of people, not all doctors are the same. Not all people are the same. Long COVID is real. Find someone who'll take your concerns seriously and explore their options. Like, I think there's some hope in this SSRI business, like, medications that may help with the brain fog. I just feel like it's the wild, wild west, but I mean, there are treatments that we can try. And that's what I want patients to know, that you're the one who's willing to try treatment.
Exactly. Thanks for listening to the Sunday Night Health Show podcast. You can subscribe, rate, or review on your favorite podcast app. And if you've got a question about your health, the nurse is always in. So email me, nursetalk@hotmail.com, and I just might answer your question, anonymously, of course, on next week's show. For now, have a happy and healthy week.